Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to discuss the phenomenon of payment exclusion of older people in Poland, including the scale of its occurrence. This aspect of financial exclusion is regularly subject to research. It shows that the degree of financial exclusion has been decreasing significantly in recent years, but it still concerns many older people in Poland. In the case of the social group, the process of financial inclusion is slower and more demanding. It is associated with a special approach and the need to direct and offer dedicated to seniors and adapted to their capabilities and needs. Financial exclusion means the lack of access or limited access of specific people or social groups to basic financial services. This can significantly affect their quality of life and participation in social life. Older people are indicated as one of the groups most at risk of financial exclusion. This is particularly important in the context of unfavorable demographic forecasts for Poland. Poles are one of the fastest aging societies in Europe, and this process carries economic and social consequences concerning not only older people but also the functioning of the entire state and society. Since banking services are currently part of the daily functioning of individuals and households, they are most often examined in the context of excluding various age groups of Poles. It is also important in this respect to assume that simply having a bank account is the first step towards financial inclusion. It is also assumed that consumers first start using banking services and only then and with less frequency use solutions related to investments or insurance. In the studies conducted regularly by the National Bank of Poland since 2012, the payment methods most frequently used by Poles have been analyzed. Because these studies are cyclical, their results show changing payments habits as well as the level of current banking. In relation to 2023, the fourth study in this area was conducted. The study examined, among other things, whether Poles had a bank account or a payment account. It showed that 91.7% of adult respondents had and used this service. The level of banking among Poles was also determined in relation to the age criterion. This level, in the case of the first three age groups, was significantly above average, namely 18 to 24 years, 93.3%, 25 to 39 years, 98.6%, and 40 to 54 years, 95%. Among people aged 65 and over, the level of banking was significantly lower than the average 80.2%. Individual editions of the studies conducted by the NBP also indicate that the level of banking is significantly influenced by the level of education. In this case, the study showed that almost all respondents with secondary education, 97.5%, or higher, 99%, had access to account. The group of people with the lowest level of banking included people with primarily or lower secondary education or no education, 61.7%. The banking process in Poland in relation to 2023 also depended on the place of residence of the surveyed people. The lowest was recorded in villages, 88.9%, and the highest in large cities, 96.7%. The most common reason for not having an account was the lack of such a need, 79.3%. The remaining and dominant reasons indicated by respondent concerned the preferences for keeping money in cash, 46.2%, lack of trust in financial institutions, 25.5%, the cost of having an account, 25.2%, and overly complicated account management, 15.3%. However, the reasons for not having an account were not indicated as reasons for not having one. A comparison with previous studies conducted in this area in 2020 shows that the main reasons for not having an account have not changed. The latest study shows that regardless of the group of respondents, access to bank branches by holders of bank accounts and payments accounts was almost universal. However, there was a large variation in the frequency of use of individual channels of access to branches. The assessment of the needs to use bank branches showed that a small percentage of people with accounts used branches very often or often, 9%. Such a need was most common among older people aged 65 and over, 24%. And this trend has not changed compared to the results of the study conducted in 2020. The assessment of access to the internet channel and the frequency of its use shows that it was more diverse among holders of bank accounts and payment accounts than in the case of bank branches. Older people aged 55 to 64 and 65 and over most often declared that they did not have such access, 24.1%, or did not know whether they had it, 43.6%. The impact on the availability of the internet channel also depended on the education of the respondents. The people surveyed with access to the internet channel mostly indicated that they used it often or very often. However, in the group of people aged 65 and over, only 30% used the internet channel often or very often. Among the objective reasons for not using the internet channel, respondents most often indicated lack of skills in using such a solution, 53.7%, lack of access to the internet, 32.9%, and lack of a device that would allow such access, 11.7%. If it was due to preferences or beliefs in this case, in the reasons for not using the online channel were no need to use such a solution, 30 6.2%, lack of trust in it, 33.7%, and preference for personal contact with representatives of a bank or a cooperative savings and credit union, 13.6%. In terms of access to the mobile channel and the frequency of its use by holders of bank or payment accounts, research shows that the percentage of people using this solution decreases with age. In the case of people aged 18 to 39, over 92% of respondents had such access. In the age group of 30 to 54, it was 80.7% of respondents. And among people aged 55 and over, only 29.7%. As in other area of the study, it can be seen that the level of access to the mobile channel also has an impact on the level of education. Similar to access to the internet channel, the analysis of the frequency of use of the mobile channel also indicates that the majority of respondents used this solution often or very often. A high percentage of people using mobile banking most often concerns the age groups of 25 to 39, 86%, and 18 to 24, 84%. On the other hand, people aged 65 and over used this solution the least often, and among them is many as 72% did not use it at all. The most common reasons for not using the mobile channel included lack of trust, 40.5%, no need to use such a solution, 39.3%, lack of skills to use it, 38.8%, lack of access to the internet, 15.5%, and preference for personal contact, 12.8%. The access to the telephone channel turned out to be the least popular method of accessing a bank account and payment account. As in the case of other account access channels, the lowest percentage of respondents with access to the telephone channel was recorded in the case of older people. In the group of people aged 55 to 64, 52.2%, and 65 years and over, 51.7%. As for the level of education, it was indicated that access to the telephone channel was available to just over 50% of respondents with education below secondary level. The survey result was also influenced by the place of residence of the respondents. In the case of this form of accounts access, the percentage of people who did not use this solution at all was also high. It should therefore be noted that in the case of each of the analyzed channels of access to bank accounts or payment accounts, the greatest variation in access to these solutions concerns individual age groups and groups of respondents indicated by education. At the same time, research shows that people in the age groups 55 to 64 and 65 and over use these solutions to the least extent. Another important aspect of the research conducted by the National Bank of Poland is the possession of payment cards. In the latest study, 86.7% of respondents declared it. The structure of possession of payment cards in terms of demographic characteristics is similar to the structure of possession of bank or payment accounts. The study showed that payments cards were more often held by women, 87.4%, people in the age group of 25 to 39 years, 97.3%, and 40 to 54 years, 93%, as well as people with secondary education, 94.5%, and higher education, 99.4%. The lowest level of possession of payment cards, on the other hand, concerns people aged 65 and over, and people with lowest education or no education. The most common reasons for not having a payment card were no bank account or payment account, 49%, fear of losing control over spending, 33.2%, and the risk of unauthorized use of a payment card, 27.5%. Respondents also indicated that the reason for not having a card was the belief that payments using a card were too complicated, 21.9%. They did not see any benefits from using them, 17%. Or they believed that having a card was too expensive, 13.8%. Comparison of the results of studies conducted in 2020 and 2023 shows that the percentage of people with a bank account or payment account has increased from 88.5% to 91.7%. We are also seeing a similar increase in the case of payment card holders from 81.7% to 86.7%. The share of people with both an account and a payment card has also increased from 81.7% to 86.4%. The MVP study also analyzed the payment preferences of Poles. The majority of respondents declared using non-cash instruments, 52.2% compared to 27.1%, preferring cash payments. In the case of older people, the trend of attachment to cash payments remains constant. The vast majority of respondents age 65 and over indicated that they primarily use cash payments, 63.2% compared to 18.9% preferring cashless payments. No preferences in this respect were indicated by 17.4% of respondents representing this age group. The preference for cash payments also concerned people with primarily lower secondary or no formal education, 73.2%. The study also showed that in the case of respondents with greater financial knowledge, their payment preferences were more specific and were characterized by a greater propensity to use non-cash instruments. Analysis of the scale of the phenomenon of financial exclusion of the elderly in Poland allows us to state a significant improvement in the conditions of access of the seniors community to individual financial services. However, the research conducted in this area shows that in the case of the elderly, the process of inclusion is unfortunately the slowest, and they remain one of the groups particularly vulnerable to financial exclusion. It should be noted that in recent years, many legislative solutions have been adopted in Poland. Adjustment and educational activities have been undertaken to reduce the scale of the phenomenon of financial exclusion. These activities also take into account the situation of the elderly. However, they require continuation adjustment to changing demographic conditions and greater emphasis on cooperation with financial market institutions. Thank you for your attention.